The idea or conspiracy that there was a remote triggered IED device, in other words, an explosion that was somewhere on Charlie's body or in his microphone, is literally impossible. That conspiracy is impossible. And I'm going to show you why real quick. I'll just get to the meat of it right away. People click, that's what they want to hear. There's some other things I want to say, but let's get this out of the way first. There's no way anybody could have used it in an IED. As much as you conspiracy theorists want it to be a big, huge, multi-layer government cover-up, it's not. And let me show you why it's impossible. You see, all these conspiracies, every one of them that I've heard so far, that unfortunately channels that I subscribe to, people that I had respect for, people that I thought had credibility, have been spreading these. And although, like Jesse on Fire yesterday claiming, I don't co-sign any of these, I don't want anybody to think I believe in these conspiracies, then why are you putting them out there? Why are you spreading them? Well, clicks and views. That's why you're doing it. And if you don't believe in the conspiracy, why repeat it? You guys are hurting people. You're accusing innocent people of being involved. You're accusing his friends, his own security, of being involved. And it's hurtful. And it's just impossible. All of these conspiracies leave out some very important details because they get caught up in confirmation bias. And all they do is look for ways to confirm their conspiracy and sell their nonsense. Like the stupid shrubbery, the Vietnam era, costume with the leaves on the helmet hidden in a shrub, right in front of the crowd instead of from behind for where everybody heard the shot from. This guy suggests it came from the front. It's just dumb, right? All of it. And, but the IED one, literally impossible. Could not happen. And I won't even get into the fact that it would require so many moving parts and require so many people to be in on it. It just falls apart just in that and of itself, right? The whole ER trauma team, the well-established neurosurgeon, chief neurosurgeon of the hospital that's, built a life and a career there. He's suddenly going to lie for Israel, and the whole ER team's going to lie, and the whole police department, the whole sheriff's department. No. What they leave out is there were 3,000 plus eyewitnesses. Not one person reports hearing an explosion. Everybody, right from the rip, says, he got shot. I heard a gunshot. But no one says, I heard an explosion. And I want you guys to just slow down for a minute, because what they do with these kabuki theater videos, and we'll talk about Candace's suspense building, kabuki theater nonsense, but there were people less than 10 feet away from Charlie. Let's take a look. I mean, they're literally right up on the barrier, less than 10 feet away. Now, I want one of you conspiracy theorists that believe in this nonsense to look me in my face and literally tell me with a straight face, without cracking a smile, that you think an explosion could happen right in front of somebody, less than 10 feet in front of them, and they would confuse it for a rifle shot that came from behind them. Or when they were talking to the news reporters right away, they would say, I heard a gunshot, when an explosion happened literally 10 feet in front of them.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Oh my God.
Cody, go, run.
Oh my God.
Cody, go, run.
People were crying, people were screaming. It was a nightmare.
It would be in the camera. He just moved. What was that? Oh my God! He just got shot! Holy shit!
Suddenly, it sounds like lightning. It was so loud, I thought the shooter was right there in the crowd. I hear this loud sound and I'm like, that wasn't what I thought it was, is it?
Oh my God, he was just shot! He was just shot! You just hear the gunshot and
I'm sorry. You just see his neck just like open up and there's just like so much blood that just came out.
I mean, I really want you to try to tell me that you could set off an explosive device 10 feet away from me, right where I'm looking, or less than 10 feet in some cases, 8 feet, 6 feet, and I wouldn't realize something in front of me exploded. I mean, it's just absurd. And then, not to mention, you can see it. Come on, man. Stop this nonsense. Why are you repeating this crap, Jesse? I mean, you were so excited about this. It was like urgent. You're going to change the narrative. Didn't change anything for me, but just it destroyed your credibility some more. But every one of these conspiracies leave out all the eyewitnesses that were there. The people that saw Tyler Robinson run across the roof, where they heard the shot come from. If you look at a zoomed out video of right when it happened, of the crowd, you can see several people turn and look directly towards where Tyler Robinson was seen, right when they duck. And they run away from that. They don't run towards it, they run away from it. Well, if there was an explosion right in front of them, they'd have been running back, not forward. You can't set off an explosive device less than 10 feet from like 40 or 50 people, and then less than 20 feet from about 200 people, and less than 40 feet from 3,000 people, and not one person report hearing an explosion. And the fact that it would require so many moving parts, it would be so complex, so difficult to pull off, wouldn't it just be easier to shoot the guy? I mean, some of them will lead you to believe that they literally had Tyler come there with the weapon so they could do the conspiracy. Well, why not just have him go ahead and shoot the guy? He wanted to do it. They professed they wanted to do it. They threatened to do it for 4 years. Why is it such a hard stretch to believe that Antifa would do this? Antifa and trans radicals that have been threatening to do this to Charlie for years, so there's that. And then the fact that these are facts. These aren't like opinions or hypotheses. It's facts of the case that they made predictions the day before that, hey, you'll know it when you see it. Wouldn't it be awful if something bad happened, Charlie? Hey, watch the news. Something big's coming. There were all kind of these little snide predictions like that from Tyler's very friends. I mean, you can't ignore all this stuff. If you're gonna tout some conspiracy, you have to first debunk all that. You have to first explain how all the people in the crowd described hearing a gunshot. And then there's this. In every video, and there are several, right when it happened, us, me and you, we can hear a rifle. I don't hear no explosion. I hear a rifle. And a rifle makes a very distinct sound. They don't sound anything like a pistol. They don't sound anything like a shotgun. And they sure as heck don't sound like an explosion. A rifle makes a very crisp crack followed by an echo. And it is it's defined. And in every video, literally every video, the multitude of independent videos that were recorded that day, that's what you hear. You hear a rifle. You see many people in the crowd turn and look up over their right shoulder as they're ducking, as they're turning away. Everybody right from the rip describes hearing a shot. Some people scream out, "Oh my God, he's been shot."
Oh my gosh, he was just shot. He was just shot.
They didn't say, "Oh my God, he's been blown up." No burn marks on the shirt. Not a single burn mark. So let's pretend for just a second that such a stupid Scooby-Doo episode could be real. Okay, let's just think about what it would take to pull that off. His entire team would have to be in on it. Longtime friends. No, they're not Israeli security like that idiot suggests. They are longtime friends of his that have worked for Turning Point since the beginning. And so they would have to be in on it, right? And then the entire emergency room trauma team would have to be in on it. A well-established neurosurgeon who is established in the community, built a life and a career, he would have to be in on it, willing to throw it all away if he gets caught. It just starts to fall apart. And it's too many moving parts required. Too many eyewitnesses there to confuse people from an explosion to a gunshot. So can we please just put that stupid conspiracy theory away? Let's have a listen to this explosion. Let's hear it again. Sounds like a rifle to me. And why is everybody turning and looking back where Tyler was? Now, that's the end of it. It's impossible for it to have been an IED, in the fact that there were multiple eyewitnesses less than 10 feet away, and every one of them describe a gunshot behind them, not an explosion in front of them. And the ridiculous notion, Candace Owens and her Kabuki theater, and what I mean by that is her videos go like this. She spends about 10 minutes making somebody look suspicious. And she ignores the fact that there were dozens of eyewitnesses there, or thousands of eyewitnesses there. And she goes down this path of making somebody seem suspicious for the first 10 minutes of her video. Example, her first video, she talks about the Turning Point employee who is leaning against the wall on his phone. Then he comes over and takes the $8,000 camera down with a $4,000 lens. After, they're standing there, they're stunned, they don't know what to do. She makes this guy seem suspicious. She carries on about, he's taking the SD card out. Well, modern video, we don't have to worry about an SD card really, because these new cameras today, especially the one they're using, I know for a fact, you control it with your smart device. And it records right to your smart device as well as on an SD card. And it can even upload to the cloud while it's recording, which I would bet that they're doing. I bet they're uploading directly to whoever edits the videos back at the office. And it's being downloaded onto the device that's controlling it, and it's on the SD card. So there was no thing about him taking the video. It's absurd. But my point is, she builds all this salacious suspense, and then she debunks it. And says, well, guess what? All that I just said a minute ago, never mind, because that was a Turning Point employee, and I know the guy, and I called him, and he shared the video with me, and blah, 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 right? She does the same thing again the next day. Only she uses a woman and these two little girls. There was a woman there that had a bunch of kids with her, and they all got separated when this happened. And the lady gave an interview with her niece and her daughter, 10 and 11 years old, because they were very close. They were right up front. And one of the daughters accidentally recorded it. I mean, she was recording but didn't realize she had recorded the deed. And they were stunned. These girls were traumatized. And the next day they figured out they had recorded it. But anyway, they gave a media interview. Well, Candace spends the first 10 minutes of her video telling this lady's name, talking about where she works, talking about who she's married to, what her husband does, all this crap. And then she puts those two little girls' faces on the screen and literally implies that they are liars. And that it's so strange that they would hang around and give an interview. Well, then you find out the lady was local. They were right there. There was no fear coming back there. Candace suggested, why would they come back to the scene when the shooter hasn't even been caught yet? there was no risk of the shooter still being on the campus the next morning. That's absurd. The police were all there. The place was all coordinated and corned off. Come on, man. So, and she literally calls these two little girls liars to her almost 2 million people watching, while putting their face on the screen, not giving a crap that they got to go to school the next day and probably have people talking crap about them. And then she debunks it by saying, oh, I ended up talking to them and they weren't involved at all. Well, if they weren't involved at all and she talked to them, why did she put them in the video to begin with? Well, kabuki theater. Same thing with the Turning Point employee. Oh, it turned out it was a Turning Point employee and I called him. Why was he in the video then at all? If he wasn't a suspect and you knew that, why did you spend 10 minutes making him seem like a suspect for a salacious video? And now we get to this nonsense she's touting that Tyler wasn't there. Well, I'm going to tell you that's not possible. There's too many videos showing him in the area. And every one of these conspiracies then ignore that, right? If you go to Gary Hughes' True Crime channel, he's a retired New York City detective that does true crime. And he does it like matter-of-factly. He doesn't come up with his own hypothesis. He just goes through the evidence and breaks it down. And he's got a lot of experience, and the guy's very credible. There are several videos he's got on his channel that show almost step-by-step Tyler Robinson coming there. These are 1080p and 4K Ring doorbell camera video, and it is very clearly Taylor Robinson. No question about it. And you can see the gun. He's walking stiff-legged. He's got the rifle tucked down his pant leg and up through his shirt, and he's walking stiff-legged all the way there. He is seen then picked up again by another camera as he's coming up the sidewalk, heading under the little stairway area, and then he's picked up again on the stairway by another security camera, and you can very clearly, without question, see that it is him and see the gun tucked down his pant leg. He's then seen jumping off the building. And right after the shot, he's seen running across and then jumping off. Okay, so we do all that, but yet there's a guy, they're blowing him up with an explosive device. Well, what the hell's the guy on the roof for then? Just dumb. Anyway, he's seen running across the roof, jumping down. He very clearly has the gun. And what you guys got to do, you have to quit listening to this stuff be narrated to you by the person selling a conspiracy. Turn the volume off and just watch the video. Don't listen to the narration, because what that does is it starts to build this confirmation bias, and it becomes more easy to believe. Don't listen to the narration and just watch. And I'll tell you, instead of listening to some guy, look, there's no gun. You can't see no gun. No, you can see the gun. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's very clearly there. And he runs across the field. And Lamont on the Run has a pretty good video of the guy jumping down. And you can really clearly see that blanket or towel, he's got the gun wrapped in there. But he runs across that field and heads into the woods. Well, then there's another video that Gary Hughes has on his channel, Gary Hughes True Crime channel, where you can watch Tyler run up out of the woods onto the street. Now, these are the same cameras that seen him coming. The same camera watching him go. And now he doesn't have it. And he's like doing a mild jog through the back of these people's yard out into the street. And there again, you can very clearly tell it's him. I mean, it's him. And so for her to claim he wasn't there is just ridiculous. They also have his cell phone pinging in the area. I mean, there's so much evidence that's just rock solid that he was there. So Candace is like all weekend, so the whole reason I'm bringing this up is to prove to you what Candace is doing. And she is just being an opportunist, making as much money as she can off of this. It's sad. I hate to see it, but it is what it is. It's what she's doing. You know, you realize she's got to make her own money now. She's not employed anywhere. And so she's got to maximize the profit on these videos and just really capitalize on them. And that's what she's doing. Friday, she says that she's got firsthand knowledge that Tyler wasn't there and his dad never turned him in. But it's going to be in my video on Monday. Dun, dun, dun! Tune in Monday. Dun, dun! Okay, so she wanted that to build suspense all weekend so everybody would watch, and it worked. You know, she had like 1.8 million people right off the rip within the hour, and it's just nonsense. Of course he was there. And then, okay, she says she's heard that his father didn't turn him in, and da-da-da-da-da. You don't think his father would speak up? If the media was out there saying his own father turned him in, and that was not true, you don't think his father would be all over social media saying, hey, whoa, that's a lie. Come on, man. His parents were Trump's voters, Charlie Kirk fans. And his father absolutely did turn him in to his next door neighbor that's a retired sheriff. Now, if that was all a lie, you don't think that next door neighbor sheriff wouldn't speak up and say, hey, that's a lie? Come on. Stop it. You guys got to start using some common sense here. And who had the most motive? Who had the most motive to do this? Who had the desire to do it? Who threatened to do it a bunch of times? Who predicted that it was going to happen? And who celebrated once it did happen? Antifa, trans radicals, funded by Democrat donors, George Soros and others. You know, the same people that give them money to haul pallets of bricks around to where there's protest, and they fly Antifa all over the country and put them up in hotels, and you know, those people. I would assume they probably were going to get paid some money or something. They wanted to do it. They bragged about doing it. They predicted it the day before, making wild little remarks like, you know, wouldn't it be bad if something happened to Charlie while he's speaking at the college tomorrow? You'll know it when you see it. And, you know, something big's coming. Watch the news. What, are those people psychic? And it's beyond coincidence that they're Tyler's friends. Come on, guys. If you're going to believe these stupid conspiracies that don't have any facts, how can you ignore all this evidence? How can you ignore all this evidence? I don't know why everyone's just ignoring the eyewitnesses. They heard a shot. It came from behind them. The doctors telling you what he died from, where the bullet ended up. They have no unearthly reason to lie. And just every bit of evidence that we've got so far that points to Antifa, you know, including a confession, and his own parents turning him in, which did happen, because if it didn't, they'd be raising hell saying, people are lying. We didn't turn our son in. They're framing my son. Wouldn't they be saying that? Wouldn't they have went and got an attorney and an attorney spokesperson for their son saying, hey, they're lying. Tyler wasn't there that day. He didn't do this. So you got to at least be willing to digest the evidence that we have. If you're going to believe in conspiracies that have no evidence, well, then you at least got to believe the evidence we do have that points towards Antifa. Trans radicals, Tyler Robinson, radicalized by his furry boyfriend, who threatened to do it for years, and they made good on their threat. You know, the Democrats had a good reason for Charlie to be gone the same way they had a good reason for Trump to be gone. You know, Charlie cost them 56% of the youth vote. He cost them the election, some would say. So, of course, if they could get some Antifa trans radicals to do their dirty work, they would. And same way they went after Trump. And so, please, Can we just stop this? Can we at least, if you're going to head down the multi-layer, multiplayer, stupid conspiracy that Candace Owens started with this Israel crap, even though she denies it, she absolutely is the one that started it. If you're going to believe all that, you've got to at least either debunk the evidence we already have, or at least mention that evidence exists before you put your conspiracy out there. And there's an abundance of evidence it was a gunshot. There is abundance of evidence there were eyewitnesses less than 10 feet back. There's an abundance of evidence that all of them say a shot came from behind them. There's an abundance of evidence seeing Tyler Robinson, yes, him, clearly, coming, 4K, crystal clear, all the way down the street with it, that he's seen on the roof, he's seen going up the steps, he's seen on the roof, he's seen jumping down, running away, and he's seen heading back to his car. And it is him. There's too much coincidence there to ignore. So I just want everybody to slow down. And Jesse on fire, it's a weird way the sun's coming in right now. It's like it's hitting right, literally. Let's see if I can raise this up. There. Fix it a little bit. It's coming right in the window. People like Jesse on Fire, Heavy Duty Country, Heavy Duty Country rushing to do a video about this picture of this rifle, and it wasn't even Tyler Robinson's rifle. It was a stock photo from Google that he carried on about for 20 minutes in a video. These people speaking in absolutes that no 30-aught could get trapped in a human body. Nonsense. There are people alive with a 30-aught round in them. There's many cases where there was no exit wound with a 30-aught. These are just lies that people are telling. They just speak in absolutes. They don't know for sure. And when you hear somebody say, that's no way, that's impossible, they have no way of knowing that. And they're just assuming. And there's very clearly has happened before. There are people alive with a 30-aught round in them. It really depends on what weapon it was shot out of. That's a round. It's not the weapon. And what we understand, this was a Army. Well, those aren't a real long barrel. They got a fairly shorter barrel on them, and they've got a kind of a pretty narrow stock. So we don't know what Tyler's gun looked like. There's never been a picture of it released. So we don't have no idea what it looks like. But this idea that everything's a government conspiracy because you guys are hung up on these text messages, it's just absurd. The text messages were a smokescreen to take the heat off his roommate. Him and his roommate wrote those. Probably used AI to do it. But as soon as his roommate realized that it's going south and Taylor, they put Taylor's picture out and he's clearly going to get caught, they probably tried to figure out ways that, hey, at least let's not have his roommate get wound up in it and his friends. And you don't know if the FBI is all up in those guys or not. They're not going to share evidence that could damage the case. So cooler heads prevail. I wish everybody would just quit signing on these conspiracies. And I would say with absolute certain, let's hear it again. And now let's take a look at how close this crowd was again. I have debunked the nonsense that there was some IED device exploded from a guy in the crowd holding a cell phone. Like, that's unusual. Hundreds of cell phones were out. Man, come on, let's do better. Let's quit accusing innocent people and creating a mockery out of this. And Candace Owens' credibility gone. If you're still listening to her, you're just wanting to remain willfully stupid. That's all I can say.